we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming out to our workshop today, International Students and Government Officials, Knowing Your Rights and Responsibilities. We have our first speaker here, Lieutenant Cody James is from OUPD, and he's got a quick little presentation for us. And then we'll take some time to answer questions. And then we also have our OU immigration attorney that will speak after Lieutenant James. So I'll hand the mic over.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Like Robin said, I'm Lieutenant Cody James. I am a patrol supervisor for our evening shift patrol, which is 4 p.m. to midnight. I supervise all of our patrol officers that work evenings and all of our dispatchers and community service officers. And I'm so happy that Caroline and Robin invited me to speak to you all today. What we're going to discuss, or what I'm going to discuss, is just some basic traffic laws. I'm going to touch on arrest. And then at the end of the presentation, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. All right. The first thing we're going to touch on are the traffic laws. You do have to have a driver's license if you're going to drive a vehicle. Acceptable forms of driver's license would be like an Oklahoma driver's license or a driver's license from another state, or a driver's license from your home country. There is such a thing as an international driver's license, and we will not accept that as a valid driver's license here in Oklahoma. I'm not 100% sure how other states see that, but Oklahoma, the way we see it is if you have an international driver's license, we'll view that as that you don't have a driver's license. So if you have a driver's license from your home country, or you have a driver's license from Oklahoma or another state, those will all be acceptable forms of driver's license. For your vehicle, in Oklahoma and most states, we require that you keep current insurance up to date on your vehicle, and you keep your vehicle registration or your tags up to date. You have to renew your vehicle registration every year here in Oklahoma, and you can do that at any tag agency. If you don't have insurance in your vehicle, you can receive a traffic citation, and your vehicle can actually be impounded because it's required by state law that you have insurance on your vehicle. And also, if you do not have insurance on your vehicle and you are cited, your driver's license can be suspended by the Department of Public Safety.
Sorry, can you explain what impounded is?
Yes. What I mean by impounded is if you're stopped for a traffic violation and let's say you do not have insurance on your vehicle, the officer has the option to take your vehicle from you and have a record come take it away and put it in an impound lot and make you guys go get insurance before you can drive again and issue a citation. It's really up to officer's discretion. I will also note that on your vehicle registration or your tags, the state offers you a 30-day grace period before they start assessing late fees to you. And there is a state law that says if you let your vehicle registration expire more than 90 days, that your vehicle can be taken from you as well, just in the same instance as you not having insurance. Does anybody have any questions about that?
So the vehicle cannot be returned to you if taken away
Yeah.
after 90 days?
You can have your vehicle. So let's say that you don't have insurance on your vehicle and you've let your vehicle registration go over 90 days expire and your vehicle's taken from you. You'll be required to go get insurance and update your vehicle registration before you can get your vehicle back. Okay?
Does it cost money to get your vehicle out of the impound lot?
It does cost money to get your vehicle out of the impound lot. Each impound lot, they have different fees, so you would just have to check with whatever impound lot had taken your vehicle if it does happen. Okay. During a traffic stop, most officers are going to turn on their red and blue lights. And by state law, you're required to move to the right side of the road and stop, put your vehicle in park. The officer will come up, just put your hands on the steering wheel, and they're going to ask you for your driver's license and insurance, and they're going to tell you, hey, this is why I pulled you over. You were speeding, you didn't stop for a stop sign, you didn't stop for a red light. They'll explain that to you, and they will check your driver's license and make sure that your driver's license is valid, and they'll make sure that your insurance is valid and that your tags or your vehicle registration is up to date. And at the end of the traffic stop, they will either issue you a warning or a traffic citation. Here at OU, most of the time we will issue City of Norman municipal traffic citations. And when you do receive one of those citations, you have 2 weeks to go to the City of Norman Municipal Court and take care of that citation and either pay the fee, or you can request to see a judge to attest the citation. If you fail to go to the City of Norman Municipal Court and pay your fee or request to see a judge, they will issue a bench warrant for your arrest. And the next time you're stopped for a traffic violation, you will be arrested. And I'm going to touch on arrest and how those procedures go here in a minute. So if you do receive a traffic citation, be sure that you take care of it. The officer will tell you if it's a warning, and most departments, like our department, it'll say traffic warning, and if it's a citation, you'll have to sign for it. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Citation. What is that citation? Can you give us a brief definition?
Yeah, a traffic citation. So let's say that you were speeding down the road and you were going 10 over, and the officer decided that he was going to issue you a citation for that. It's basically like fining you, saying like, hey, you broke this law. Now the consequences, you're going to go pay this fine. If you don't pay this fine, then you may be arrested, and a judge may issue a warrant for your arrest. Is that?
Is another word for citation ticket?
Yes, ticket. Another word for citation is ticket. Sorry, I always talk in legal terms a lot. Okay, now I'm going to touch on arrest. So if you do not have a driver's license and you are stopped for a traffic violation, you will be arrested for driving without a driver's license. And the way that works is you will either be transported to the City of Norman Municipal Court, and you'll be afforded the opportunity to post a bond, which means you'll pay a fee for the traffic violation and you'll be released, and they'll set up a court date. If you don't have the money to pay the bond, then you'll be transported to the Cleveland County Detention Center here in Norman, and you'll have to work out to pay a bond there to be released. If you have a suspended or revoked driver's license, and what a suspended driver's license is, if you are stopped and cited for having no insurance on your vehicle, your driver's license may be suspended or revoked by the Department of Public Safety. If you get arrested for DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol or a drug, your driver's license may be revoked, denied, or suspended by the Department of Public Safety. If your driver's license is suspended or revoked, then, and you're stopped on a traffic stop, you will be arrested. It's in the law that we have to arrest you. We don't have a choice. And yes.
Do you mind explaining the difference between suspended and revoked?
Yes. So suspension is usually it's a set period of time. So for example, if you're arrested for a DUI, driving under the influence of a drug or alcohol, 180 days, your driver's license will be suspended and you cannot drive on your driver's license for 180 days. And after that 180-day period, your driver's license will be reinstated and it'll be considered valid again. If your driver's license is revoked, that means the state of Oklahoma has revoked your driving privileges and you can't drive. Yes.
What if you have a valid driver's license but you get pulled over? For instance, we forget to have that in our wallet and it's at home. What happens is, despite the fact that we have a valid driver's license?
That was a great question. I'll repeat it so everybody can hear. He asked, what if you get stopped and you do not have your driver's license with you in the vehicle? That happens all the time. It's really not that big of a deal. Tell the officer, hey, I forgot my driver's license at home. And what he's going to do is ask you for your first name and your last name, your date of birth, and maybe some other information. And he'll go back and look up your driver's license and see if he can find it.
But with an international driver's license, not international, but a foreign driver's license, couldn't you find those two?
No, we are not able to look up foreign driver's license. So if you have a driver's license from your home country and you forget it, it's up to the officer and his discretion whether or not he's going to trust what you tell him. If you say, hey, I have a driver's license from my home country, but I don't have it with me, well, we have no way to verify that. So worst case scenario is you'll get arrested for driving without a driver's license. But oftentimes, from my experience, you'll receive a traffic citation and you'll be required to go up to the City of Norman Municipal Court and show them that you have a driver's license. And if you cannot prove to them that you have a driver's license, then they'll probably issue you a warrant for your arrest. You're going to be arrested. And that does go on your traffic record and can lead to your your driving privileges in the state of Oklahoma to be revoked. DUI, I wanted to touch on that briefly. Here in Oklahoma, you can be arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol or a drug. So the legal limit in the state of Oklahoma is 0.08, and that's measured by either your blood alcohol content or your breath alcohol content. So if you go drinking on campus corner and you drive and you get stopped, what's most likely going to happen if the officer feels that maybe you're not safe to drive, he's going to conduct a few tests, and then he'll make a determination after those tests whether or not to arrest you for DUI. I always want to talk about that because it's really important, and there's a big campaign here in Oklahoma to end DUI. So it's always better that if you guys decide you're going to go out drinking, maybe get a taxi or an Uber or a Lyft, or have a friend take you guys home. And then another topic I wanted to touch on was failing to stop for the police, because this has happened before. If an officer turns on his red and blue lights and you don't stop, he's going to turn on his siren. And if you keep driving, some other officers are probably going to show up, and they're going to think that you're trying to maybe the vehicle's stolen or there's something else going on. They're going to wonder why you're not stopping for them. And that can actually result in you being arrested depending on how far you go or how long it takes you to stop. So if you ever see an emergency vehicle with the red and blue lights on, it's very important to just pull to the right side of the road and stop for them. And I think I already touched on this, but City of Norman Municipal Court is where you can go if you're arrested, or the Cleveland County Detention Center. And then some countries require that we notify the consulate or your embassy if you are arrested. It's the law, and we don't have a choice. We have to notify them. Some resources. You can go to www.ok.gov/DPS. This is the Oklahoma Department of Public Safety's website. There's a lot of resources on here in regards to how you obtain a driver's license, insurance, vehicle registration information, anything else you'd want to know about the traffic laws of the state of Oklahoma. There's also the City of Norman. If you Google City of Norman, they have a website with information about the municipal court on there and the fines and how the warrant process works. And then there's also another website. It's called the Oklahoma Supreme Court Network. And on that website, there is a list of all of the Oklahoma state traffic laws. And you'll find those if you go to the website and you go to legal research and you go to Oklahoma statutes. It's under Title 47. That's where all of our traffic laws are located. And I also wanted to let you guys know that we do have social media, the OU Police Department does. Our website is www.ou.edu/content/police. And the easiest way to find it is probably just Google OU Police Department, and it's usually the first one that pops up. We also have a Facebook. It's the University of Oklahoma Police Department, OUPD Norman. There are two other OU Police Departments, one in Oklahoma City and one in Tulsa. So that's why OUPD Norman's at the end. And we also have a Twitter. It's at OUPD Norman. You guys can like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter. We're always posting crime tips and other information on there that can be very helpful to you. And we have a lot of resources at our website. And this is my contact information, my phone number and email. So after this workshop, if you guys have any further questions or you want to meet with me, you can feel free to call me. If I don't answer my desk, you can call our dispatch and ask for me, or you can just send me an email, whatever is easiest. Does anybody have any questions?
We also have cards. If you prefer to write your question down, raise your hand and we'll bring you a card
Yes.
Can I contact someone from my company or from my sponsor before the police officer arrests me?
If you are arrested, we will give you the opportunity to call somebody. It'll probably happen either at the municipal court or at the jail, but you will, if you have your phone with you and the contact information, you'll be able to make a phone call.
I'm sorry, I have a last question.
Yes.
Sometimes when we update our insurance policy, sometimes we forgot to print it out. I mean, is it okay for us to not have a printout insurance policy in our card, but I can show maybe in my email or some online resource?
That is an excellent question. She asked, what if you forget the hard copy of your insurance verification and don't have it in your car, but you can pull it up on your phone? Unless the state law has changed, the last time I had looked at it, you have to have the hard copy in your vehicle or you can get a citation. However, most officers, I know of very, very few officers that would give you a traffic citation if you pulled the information up on your phone and showed us. And we also have the ability, if only in Oklahoma, if your vehicle is registered in Oklahoma, we can look up and see if you have insurance. And if you did receive a citation, you have insurance, all you have to do is take it up to the court and say, I had insurance when I was stopped, and they'll most likely void this citation. You're welcome.
If you buy a car from another state such as Texas, what's the procedure for getting the registration? Is it decorated? Do we have the registration of Oklahoma state?
The question was, if you buy a vehicle in another state, what's the process to get your vehicle registration? When you buy a vehicle, they'll issue you a temporary paper registration, and each state's different. Here in Oklahoma, it's valid for 30 days. But let's say you go to Arkansas or Texas and you buy your vehicle, you can come back here and register your vehicle with the state of Oklahoma. You don't have to register it in Texas. And if you live in Oklahoma, you need to register it in the state that you live in. Any other questions?
I have
Yes.
a related question. When I car in another state, do we have to buy insurance before or after buying the car? If you don't have insurance before.
When you purchase a vehicle, they will require you to show them proof of insurance. So you'll have to call and get insurance on the vehicle and show it to the dealership before you drive out of the lot. Yes.
Is there a limited time for you said that we recognize in Oklahoma foreign driver's licenses?
Mhm.
And so we can keep that for years and years and years, or do we need to change eventually?
Yes. And I will say that it depends. If you plan on the question is if you have a foreign driver's license from your home country, do you need to get an Oklahoma driver's license? If you're only going to be here for a short amount of time and you're going to go back to your home country, I would say just keep your driver's license from your home country. If you plan on being here for an extended period of time, I would say it's probably a good idea to go ahead and get an Oklahoma driver's license. To answer your question, there is no set.
So I could technically keep mine
Yes.
forever. Okay.
What if it's expired? Like,
It does not expire.
Yes.
My name's Iman. While Norman might allow you to use the driver's license from home countries, there might be little cities in Oklahoma that might not understand the law or might not, take that and allow you to go on your way. They might give you a ticket. So, and I've seen that myself. There's very small cities, even close to Norman, that have given our international tickets for having a license from their home country. So if you are going to be here, I'd say more than 6 months, it probably is a good idea to do the driver's license. Only because there's a lot of little small municipalities that might give you a ticket. So that would cause a little issue.
Doesn't mean that we have to pay this either?
It really depends on the municipality, and I know some judges in some small cities, some are reasonable and listen, some are just very
think about that. I'm glad you brought it up because every police department and their policy and procedures and every municipality is different. And here at OU, and at least in the Norman Police Department, we see these issues all the time, and we've had the experience, and we know how to handle these issues. But if you did travel outside of Norman to like maybe a small town such as Noble or Lexington, they most likely are not going to have any idea what to do if you hand them a driver's license from your home country. So I would say that if you are going to be here more than 6 months, it is a good idea to go ahead and get an Oklahoma driver's license. Yes.
If I get citation, it will have the report on my driver's license or not?
If you get a traffic citation, it depends on what the citation's for. The question was is if it's going to go on your driving record. And yes, for certain laws that you violate, such as speeding, we call them moving violations. So if you don't stop for a stop sign, if you're speeding, that information will go on your driver's license. And I'm glad that you brought that up because Oklahoma has a point system for driver's license. And if you receive 9 points against your driver's license, it can be suspended or revoked.
9 points.
9 points.
How much if I ignore the stop sign will cost?
I will tell you that I do not know because the points are different for every different traffic violation. I can tell you off the top of my head that reckless driving, for example, that's 5 points automatically against your driver's license if you get a citation. It also depends if you take care of it, if you go and plead guilty in court and you just pay for your fine, or if you go see the judge and you try to work an agreement out with the judge to work through the citation. It really just depends. Yes.
Is there a citation that can increase my visa status?
That is a great question. I will let you address
I
that.
didn't hear his question.
He asked if there's a citation that can revoke his visa status. And
Absolutely. An DUI is something with your visa in jeopardy. Most criminal type citations could create problems for some kind of excessive speeding type tickets or considered reckless driving. But just normal traffic tickets don't endanger the lives of others, right?
thank you. Anybody else have any questions? All right, well, if you guys need anything, feel free to contact me or email me. Thank you.
So next up, we have Nima Zekavati. He's the OU immigration attorney who works in human resources. He does all of the visas for our international faculty and staff, but he also helps our office out a lot with our many questions. So Nima, I think it's best.
So as Robin mentioned, I'm the immigration attorney here on campus. And I'd like to give you kind of a quick talk on know your rights in the country and then outside of the country. And then take your questions because I know you probably have a lot of them. But if you are in the country, you guys actually have many of the same rights that U.S. citizens and permanent residents have. And there's a few handouts that I think Robin has already handed out to you guys. But if you're in the country and you come across a ICE officer or a police officer, you have the right to remain silent. But as a caveat to that, if it's an ICE agent, there is a requirement that you give them any kind of an immigration document to prove your status. So most of you are here on F1 visas. If you come across an ICE agent, you'll be required to show them your I-20 to show that you have valid status. But outside of that, you have a right to remain silent. With that said, you shouldn't provide any false documents or provide any false information. You can refuse a search. As F1 visa holders, you are entitled to that protection. You have the right to speak to a lawyer before you answer any questions or consent to a search by a police officer. So all of those things, as long as you're in the country, in the U.S., you're allowed access to those things. But that's in the country. So how many people in here traveled during spring break outside of the country and then came back in? So,
Do you mean the country state?
no, left the U.S. and came back in. No travelers? Well, if you did, at the border there is a whole different set of rules. And so at the border you don't have a right to an attorney. You can remain silent, but really if you do that, you'll just be turned back to your home country. And then you really can't refuse a search either. And so that's why when you're at the airport, they're allowed to check your cell phones. If it's locked, you have to unlock it for them. If you have a laptop, that means you have to give them the password to go into your laptop. In a lot of cases, if they get into your laptop or your cell phone, they're allowed to go into your social media accounts so they can look into all of those things to determine things like if you have immigrant intent. And if they find anything in those devices that gives the impression to them that you're trying to come here permanently, then they can refuse you entry and they can send you back to your home country.
What about islands? Are they considered outside the country or?
Sorry, can you?
What about islands?
So, anytime you are entering back in through CBP, and most times when you go through like to Hawaii or even some U.S. Virgin Islands, you come back through some CBP type of a checkpoint. Also at those, you don't really have any of these protections. Not only that, but when you get close to the borders, for example, if anybody traveled to South Padre for spring break, Corpus Christi, there are certain checkpoints then when you get close to the borders that you have to go through. The same rules that apply for you coming from outside in apply at those checkpoints. So you have to have your I-20s, you have to have your passports with you, and you're not really entitled to a lawyer, or you're not entitled to refuse a search. They can search your car, they can go through your belongings, and so those rights that you have in the country, for example, if you're pulled over by Officer Cody, are different than if you get close to the border or if you leave and you're trying to come back in.
But should I have a signature from ISS?
You definitely need the signature when you're coming through those checkpoints. If you don't have a signature or you don't have your I-20 at those checkpoints, they will hold you there. They will hold you there until either you show them or you have somebody bring you the signed I-20, or they'll remove you from the country.
Even when coming back from like Hawaii or Alaska, which is about the US.
Yeah, so I would say just as a best practice, if you're going to leave the intact part of the U.S., the continental U.S., that you should probably get that signature to be on the safe side. A lot of things have changed with Customs and Border Patrol in the last few months. And so it would be my advice to probably get that signature. I'd defer to ISS on what their opinion is.
We can give a travel
Yeah.
signature out of caution, to be extra cautious. We won't deny insurance.
Sure.
Even though you're advising me to say, well, you don't really need this. If you explain well, and going to the last minute and transferring to Canada or the meteor at the border, we certainly would sign the travel signature.
So those are some of the basic rights that you have in the country and outside of the country. There are other things that can come up in your tenure at OU. For example, there's been a lot of protests lately, and we've received a lot of questions on can I, as an international student, attend these protests? And the answer is yes, absolutely, you can attend the protests. But just use common sense. Just because you go to a protest and you have that right to be at the protest doesn't mean that you can't be arrested at the protest. So if things get violent, or there are issues of the protesters getting in the way of police, then they can definitely arrest you for civil disobedience. And so it's very important to use common sense when you go out to events. If there's protests and you want to protest, you definitely have that right. If you travel to the U.S. with an expired visa and you're from Oman, you would not get in. Guaranteed, they will not let you in. They will send you back to Oman.
But just as you be back to Oman, or they will lock me like for 5 years or something?
Oh, no. Unless, there's something negative that they find, for example, a DUI in your record, they're not going to ban you from coming back. You'll just have to leave and then come back in on the ballot. Very good questions. Any other questions? From this side of the room, maybe? This is the quiet side.
Is it allowed to carry a laptop in the plane?
Is it?
Allowed to carry a laptop?
Yeah, so there are certain airlines now that if you travel with those airlines, I'm sure you saw the news, Emirates, many of the Middle Eastern airlines, no, for those airlines, you cannot travel with a laptop. That's a good question. I completely forgot that came out. That takes care of your whole clearing the laptop to begin with. Just don't bring one.
So there is a date. So if you're given a visa of 4 years and the time for the PhD is for 5 years, so what happens the remaining 1 year?
Yeah, so the remaining 1 year you can stay here, but if you leave and you want to come back in, you're going to have to go to get a visa at the consulate.
Can I use my state ID instead of the passport in the border point?
Can you use your state ID
Yeah.
for?
The boarding, the airport.
For coming in
Yeah.
to the country? No, you have to have a valid passport.
I have a question for the student here. He asked if international students, or does the university provide lawyers for international students in case they're in trouble?
Okay, that's a good question. So her question was, does the university provide any type of an attorney for students that may get into trouble? And luckily for all of you guys, the university did hire an attorney in January. Her name is Tracy Langford. Her office, I believe, is in the Memorial Union If you Google OU Student Legal Services, you can find her contact information. Now, you know, she will provide some general advice and guidance on, you know, most matters dealing with landlord-tenant, or, you know, even if you get a DUI or some other types of issues aside from immigration. If there's immigration issues, those all need to be, you need to ask ISS, International Student Services, on those things first. She will be able to provide you some guidance, but she won't be able to go to court to represent you. She'll give you some kind of a referral, and then you'll be able to hopefully get some good direction to resolve those issues.
Can you give a rough idea of how much an attorney would cost?
For what? And there's different kinds of attorneys with different levels of experience. It varies from one area to another. So if it's immigration, you know, it could be $2,000 for getting something like an H-1B for the attorney fee. If it's a DUI, you know, if you want to hire an attorney, it might be $4,000 or $5,000. So it really depends. And then there's, of course, the attorneys with more experience. They will charge maybe 2 or 3 times as much. Some attorneys work on hourly rates, and some attorneys work on fixed rates. So if you ever go see an attorney, it's good to get that information up front, because attorneys can be very expensive, and sometimes, especially criminal cases, it can take a long time. It's a lot of work, and so a lot of hours will add up, and so the bill could be a lot, $10,000, $20,000.
My visa expired while I am here in the US.
So if your visa expired but your I-20 is valid, then you're allowed to stay in the US.
The visa is for entry, I-20 is for.
Yeah, so your I-20 is your status document. It proves your immigration status. The visa is just your key to get in the U.S. Sometimes some people have one entry visas, and then some people have multiple entry visas, and then some people have visas that are good for many years. And so visas vary, and just because your visa expires doesn't mean that you have to. As long as your base document that shows your status, whether it's an I-20 or an ES-2019, are still valid.
Can you apply for a visa while staying here in the US?
No. Fortunately.
I have a question. If you're at the border and you feel like you're being treated unfairly or maybe targeted unfairly, is there anything you can do?
Yeah, so, you know, the good thing about the U.S. is that we have a lot of nonprofit organizations. The ACLU is a big one. You know, if you feel that there were some, you know, atrocious things that happened when you were entering, the ACLU is always a resource for anyone, whether you're here as a permanent resident or here on an international student. And they are the advocates for everyone. So a lot of times when that kind of thing happens, you know, somebody goes and complains to the ACLU, and then the ACLU will sue the government. Or even sometimes the state will sue the federal government, which is what happened with the travel bans getting temporarily paused.
Does it mean that they, I'm sorry, so could we contact them if there was an issue, like we're deported, we're not allowed to enter because I think we want to immigrate? Can we contact them? Could they do anything actually, or?
You know, that really depends on what they have on their plate and their budget. From what I hear, their budget is kind of adding up lately. And so they could very well step in and help. It just really depends on how much they have to do criminals. All right, well, thank you all for coming.